What up? Hey, somebody let me know if they can hear me once they get on. What's up? So, can you guys hear me? Cool. Yeah, sorry about the echo thing. I can't do anything about that with the headset thing, but it's because I'm using my phone as a hotspot. So I apologize about that, but um, my phone literally just like fried. It was so hot, it burnt my hand. So, but it's charging, so that's a good thing. So we're using like prehistoric technology right now, people. So I am using a Note 4 phone because it's the only kind of phone, like the newest phone that you can get that you can still change the battery out. So I sound like a person with the voice box. Well, I'm sorry, I cannot change that. Hold on. Is that better? Can you hear me better? I don't know. I am on my data. I do not have Wi-Fi in my house because I refuse to pay Comcast another dime of my money. Yes, better? Cool. Okay. Jackie texted me while everyone was off trying to fix my phone and said that tomorrow is the anniversary of Israel, I guess, which I forgot about. So I don't know if you guys know this, but back in the day, anytime Zen was about to say like something profound, this would always happen to his tech, always. So I guess somebody doesn't want you to know what I'm about to read to you. So let's pray it all comes through okay. If it glitches, just let me know. I'll check the chat briefly after like each paragraph and make sure that's coming through okay. Um, what I was going to say is that I have a feeling that these things are going to be what explains Jonathan Kleck's work. And I don't know why I am saying this. It's just that I had that dream about Jonathan Kleck a few weeks ago, and Jackie actually prayed on text that to rebuke the demons away from our channel. So, dear Lord, please, Lord, let this message get through, no matter how many times we have to try. I pray that this message might get out for people to understand, that you might bind all the demons that are trying to interrupt this message, Lord God, and rebuke them in your precious name. Please cover us all with your blood. Thank you, Lord Jesus. Amen. So, I'm going to start at day 1, which is here. The sun is revealed to the sons of God as the light of the universe. Creation becomes visible. Okay, this is super important. I need everybody to understand what this is talking about. This is explaining the creation story as it is truly meant to be understood. So please understand, this is what the Bible is speaking about on the days of creation and whatnot. And it's going to explain it further, but I just want to give you a preface. The Son, which is Jesus, is revealed to the sons of God, which are the angels, as light of the universe. Creation becomes visible. That's why it says, let there be light. That's what it's talking about. The angels shout for joy at the revealing of the great mystery. The invisible realms are unfolded in perfection and glory, forming the foundation for Sophia, which is matter, to replicate as a shadow mirror of visible physical worlds. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Tron, but I noticed that this is a copy of that text, because I've read this text and I saw Tron and I was like, wow, that is a copy of this. And not a lot of people know this, because in Tron, he creates that computer world, and he sees himself in a mirror, and they kind of act like he's God, and then it mirrors itself, shows into a physical reality, which creates the universe that is in Tron, and that is a Disney movie. So it's just weird that it's like they knew it and then they copied it, and then there's just, I can't even explain to you how much they copy in that movie about what I'm talking about right now. Prior to the separation of light and darkness, the lower angels thought themselves pre-existent beings. Like us, they were witness to Yahushua being called forth by the voice of Father Creator and granting dominion to his Son. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Genesis 1, King James Version. This is Job 38, 4 through 11 from the King James Version. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched a line upon it? Notice, a line upon it. He doesn't mention anything. Like, you cannot, I'm a carpenter. You know the name of my channel. To stretch a line across something, it needs to be flat. I just wanted to mention that. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened, or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth, as if it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud, the garment thereof, and thick darkness, a swaddling band for it, and break up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, Hitherto shalt thou come, but no further. And here shall thy proud waves be stayed. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. And if you read the Nag Hammadi codices, it tells you that Satan did not understand. It's very complicated because it speaks about these things in their original, like, spiritual names, but it says that Satan didn't even understand how he was made, and like the things that happened to him, and how he, like, where he came from at first and things like that. It's very, very amazing because it matches John 1. To the tree I gave life, to man I gave life, and spirit also, and the spirit I made was separate from the corporeal life. The book of Jehovah, which is Jehovih. Day 2. Lucifer, the cherubim, contrives envy in his heart, desires to be like the Most High, and challenges his authority, the authority of Yahuwah, of Yahusha, and tempts 1/3 of the seraphim angels to rebel. Remember, seraphim are the serpent angels. War in heaven ensues, and Lucifer becomes Satan, the adversary, accuser of the brethren, and is banished with his angels to the 5 lower heavens. If anybody had questions about how Satan had the ability to have an audience with God, Job, and things like that, these are the answers to those questions. And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. Genesis 1, 6 through 8. The division of the firmament, the waters, and the heavens above are reference to the ancient war between the Lord of hosts and the dragon, Tiamat, as memorialized in the Enuma Elish. The Lord would use Nibiru to destroy Rahab, dividing the solar system into what became the division of the heavens into inner and outer planets. On Nibiru's second orbit as the newest captured member of the solar system, it carried the still coalescing carcass of Tiamat into what would be the new orbital position for Earth, or key, establishing the conditions necessary to harbor life. This was the pivotal moment of history for beings that would later occupy and evolve in what would be a world hospitable to the quick replication and foundation of what became the story of life here on Earth. Now, to explain this, so you don't, like I told you, Zen wasn't even talking about flat Earth before, but that doesn't mean that there are not planets and things outside of this firmament. And what he's talking about is there are planets and things like that, because even the demons say that they belong to certain planets and certain moons on other planets in the Testament of Solomon, but they are outside of our firmament. And what he's saying here is that during the war in heaven, there were like Earth and Mars and other planets were like in different sections, like they were not in the current spots that they're in. And during the war in heaven, it was like dragged here or something to that effect, and it was like a carcass. That's why it says like in the beginning, and I'll read this to you, but it's like why it says in the beginning that the earth was without form and void. How would it be without form and void? Because God makes everything perfect from the beginning. The reason it was without form and void is because it was originally made, and then it was destroyed in the war in heaven, and then it moved from its orbit, and it was put in a spot where it could be a place to create life and all those things. And that's what he's talking about. If I explained it for your understanding, but that's basically what I'm trying to say. But now, O Adam, we will make known to you what came over us through him before his fall from heaven. And this is from the first book of Adam and Eve. It says 55, so I think that's the chapter possibly. He gathered together his hosts and deceived them, promising to give them a great kingdom, a divine nature, and other promises he made them. His hosts believed that his word was true, so they yielded to him and renounced the glory of God. He then sent for us, according to the orders in which we were, to come under his command and to accept his vain promise. But we would not, and we did not take his advice. Then after he had fought with God and had dealt forwardly with him, he gathered together his hosts and made war with us. And if it had not been for God's strength that was with us, we could not have prevailed against him to hurl him from heaven. But when he fell from among us, there was great joy in heaven because of his going down from us. For if he had remained in heaven, nothing, not even one angel, would have remained in it. But God in his mercy drove him from among us to the dark earth, for he had become darkness itself and the worker of unrighteousness. See, it says there, Miss Aja, that is something that I'm not sure about. I don't know how Nibiru is going to break the firmament, but it is possible that it is CERN that is going to accomplish that task. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the Transformers movie where there is something similar to CERN, and all of a sudden there's a giant red planet coming through what seems to be like a firmament, but it's in the Transformers movie. I've seen it myself, and then all of a sudden all these other bad Transformers come through this gate of some kind. So it's almost like prophetic, in my opinion. It's what you could imagine. And it's also kind of strange that the Transformers are like a similar measurement of what the giants would be compared to human beings. Like if you see the math on it, all the Transformers are like the size of what the giants would be compared to humans, like grasshoppers in their sight type of thing. So if anybody would like to go check that out, you can see it in I think it was like the third Transformer movie. I'm not recommending seeing anything that's not, like that. I'm just saying if you want to see something similar, that's what it looks like. Alrighty. I have made a covenant with my chosen ones. I have sworn unto David my servant, thy seed will I establish forever, and will build up thy throne to all generations. Sorry, I don't know why when I get to the bottom of a page, like I read bad. I'm sorry. I've always been like that. Even when I was a little kid, I can't read at the bottom of the page for some reason. And the heavens shall praise thy wonders, O Lord, thy faithfulness also in the congregation of the saints. For who in the heaven can be compared unto the Lord? Who among the sons of the mighty can be likened unto the Lord? God is greatly to be feared in the assembly of the saints, and to be had in reverence of all them that are about him. O Lord, God of hosts, who is strong, Lord, like unto thee? Who is strong, Lord, like unto thee, or to thy faithfulness round about thee? Thou rulest the raging of the sea. When the waves thereof arise, thou stillest them. Thou hast broken Rahab in pieces as one that is slain. See, that's what it's talking about. This is Psalms 89, 3 through 10 from the King James. So Most people would read Psalms 89, 3 through 10 and not realize thou hast broken Rahab in pieces. That's what Rahab was. Rahab was, where did I just see it? I just saw it a second ago, but Rahab was I think it says it up here. Anyways, this is page 26 in this book, if anybody wants to read it for themselves. I'm just telling you what these things say so you can check it out for yourself. But it's speaking about that planet that was destroyed in the war in heaven. The heavens are thine, the earth also is thine. As for the world and the fullness thereof, thou hast founded them. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before. Ecclesiastes 1:10. The previous quotations reference the prior times before the creation of this world and modern six-day humanity. It immortalizes the destruction of Tiamat, here referenced as Rahab, and the climactic events that led to the destruction and recreation of the solar system as portrayed by the ancient creation stories. The Lord even references the enmity between the two different seed lines and how the line of David would be blessed, the blessed line that would lead to the birth of the Messiah. Day 3. Father, Creator, allowed Nibiru to be captured as part of the solar system so that he could utilize this interloper planet to repattern the number, arrangement, and orbits of all the other planetary members. Nibiru would split the heavens, the firmaments or waters, into two main divisions. Thus, its name is the planet of the crossing. After the destruction of Tiamat, Ki, or the new Earth, was shifted from an orbit outside up to one inside of Mars, usurping it as the new third planet from the sun. This event was celebrated by the ancients as having resulted in the perfect circumstance for life to begin multiplying rapidly on what was recreated as planet Earth. Like I mentioned, this is before he understood flat Earth, but what was just spoken of is why Elon Musk is always talking about going back to Mars. There is a text called the Gore Report, in which Rush Limbaugh has read it, spoke about it on his show, and he talks about how they used to have a civilization on Mars. That's what that movie is with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where there's like life on Mars and all that other stuff they're talking about. It's because they're showing you the truth. And that there were civilizations and there were things and stuff like that. And then people don't know how to read their Bible, so they don't understand these things were true. Total Recall, Dorothy. Star Massager, Dorothy gets a gold star. Yeah, it was the original one that I was referring to with Arnold Schwarzenegger, was the original Total Recall movie that was talking about. But the Gore Report is what they're hoping to do. They are hoping to break through the firmament, like in Nimrod's time, and get back to Mars and live there and escape the judgment of this earth and all that stuff. This is what they're trying to do. That's why they were building rockets back in the 50s, not only for the destruction of mankind through bombs and stuff like that, but also to escape this planet. That's what it is. That was funny. That was actually some pretty emoticons or whatever they're called. All right, so the next portion. The Anunnaki would target this planet in order to acquire the gold necessary to heal a breach in the atmosphere of their planet. Way stations were established by the fallen ones on the moon and Mars for the transportation of gold, as both had less gravitational pull, making it possible to lift heavier loads for transport back to Nibiru. Genesis 1. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called the seas. And God saw that it was good. Job 26:11. The pillars of heaven are stunned at his rebuke. He quiets the sea with his power, and by his understanding he shatters Rahab. By his spirits the heavens were beautiful. His hand forbids the fugitive snake. Romans 8:20. For the creation was not willingly subjected to vanity, but through him subjecting it on hope that all the creation will be freed from the slavery of corruption to the freedom and the glory of the children of God. For we know that all the creation groans together and travails together until now. Day 4. The solar system begins to resettle into new orbits and circuits. Nibiru also normalizes into a counterclockwise orbit called a Shar, that, according to the Sumerian calculations, is a period of 3,600 years. As all the planets of the solar system begin to synchronize with their newly established positions, the constellations, sun, moon, stars also settle into what become a cycle of movement through the 12 houses of the zodiac, a period of 25,920 years. Now, regardless of if you believe in a globe or a flat earth, zodiac is actually true, not in a weird way like the evil portions of it, but it is true. The zodiac is correct, and the sun, moon, and stars do, well, not the stars because they're attached to the firmament, but the moon and the sun are on an actual circuit, but it's like a figure eight. It's like goes like this, but then when you see it in the sky, it's like goes like in a figure eight pattern, and they've done actual still frame photography that shows that that is true. Bear with me 1 second. 12 houses of the zodiac in a period of 25,920 years. The Anunnaki claim that they arrived here on Earth 120 shars ago, which totals 432,000 years, or a period of time outlined by both Berosus and the Sumerian Kings list at the time that the hybrid demigods were granted kingship by their fallen angel parents to rule as vicars upon the Earth. The Enuma Elish cites Nibiru as the planet of crossing because its orbit dissects the ecliptic exactly where the hammered bracelet or the asteroid belt now is. This is also why they cannot get to the moon. Number one, it is inside of our solar system, like it is inside of the firmament, so they cannot like land on it. It's not the way that they're positioning it. It's not something like that. Number two, they're telling like if they could get out of it, the Van Allen radiation belt, which is what this is talking about, the hammered bracelet, the asteroid belt, it causes cancer. They can never get through it, even if they wanted to. It's something that they would never be able to pass through. So bear with me. And guys, I just want everybody to understand something. I am not a flat earth expert, and I am not an expert on this stuff except for what I've listened to Zen for many, many years, so I know what he's talking about. So this is difficult for me to explain all of this in a flat earth context because it's not written in a flat earth context. So I'm just trying to explain it the best I can. So if I screw up what I'm talking about, please bear with me. I know the Lord is helping me say this right now. So I just pray that you'll, have patience with what I'm trying to teach. And nobody said anything. I'm just letting you know. Genesis 1:14 through 19. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself and after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And in the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. And yes, we are in a snow globe. I cannot talk tonight. Let's see. The book of Enoch 2:1. Observe ye therefore that takes place in the heaven, how they do not change their orbits, and the luminaries which are in the heaven, how they all rise and set in order, each in its season, and transgress not against their appointed order. Day 5. After the destruction of the first world age and Tiamat, the fallen angels arrived some 457 to 439,000 years ago on the new earth. or called Ki, and establish Eridu as their first city and base of operations. It's my opinion that the Anunnaki are neither gods nor immortal, and even though they have very long lifespans, they can be killed and die, as referenced by Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, on the fall of Lucifer and the destruction of his children. They are now holding form as flesh and blood spirit men and can eat food, drink water, sleep, dream, and procreate, much like modern day humanity. This does not detract from their abilities as multidimensional reptilian dragon-like shapeshifting beings that can possess and hold form in all variety of bodies. That is why you see the Queen of England and multiple celebrities, their eyes look like reptilians and they transform. You see their tongues flick and you see them change shape. Like, for instance, Justin Bieber was seen multiple times changing shape. Even Kim Kardashian's transgender father was seen changing shape into a reptilian in public. Justin Bieber ran to the Hillsong Church right after he was seen twice in public by his fans who were screaming bloody murder because he turned into a 7-foot tall reptilian. That is no joke. Why would his fans say something like that? Why would they say a reptilian? How does that even make sense? Like, why would that be the creature that he turns into? Right? That doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes perfect sense when you see them doing like the one eye symbol and all the other stuff, especially when you know what Kleck's been teaching. That makes a lot of sense why he did it. And it also makes a lot of sense why he went to the Hillsong Church, because where do you go for refuge? You go to the church that's a false church, because the Pope is a reptilian too. So what Zen wrote right there is very pertinent to what we are living in now, right? But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch. I cannot say that word. And as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, that go down to the stones of the pit. As a carcass trodden under feet, thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off Babylon, the name, the remnant, the son, nephew, saith the Lord. Isaiah 14:19 through 22. And what he just said about thou will be cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch and cut down with the sword, that go down to the stones of the pit as a carcass trodden underfoot. If you've heard the saying of that 15-year-old boy that had the vision of Obama being buried outside of Israel, in my opinion, when I read that, that's what I think of, is that people will look upon the carcass of Obama and they'll look upon him and they'll be like, is this who made the nations? Like, go mad? That's just what I think about. I don't know why I think that. I'm just sharing it with you. I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying that's what my mind goes to every time I read that verse, and it has for a long time. Because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God. Behold, therefore, I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against the beauty of thy wisdom. They shall defile thy brightness. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am God? But thou shalt be a man, and no God, in the hand of him that slayeth thee. Thou shalt die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, saith Lord God. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by the reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore will I bring forth the fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee, and I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be any more. Ezekiel 28:6 through 10, 17 through 19, King James Version. Halalu, an exiled Nabirian king, I don't know why I cannot talk. I got my headset on and I can't hear my own words. So sorry if I keep screwing up words. So, and these are not easy words, by the way. Alalu, an exiled Nibirian king, landed on the earth prior to Enki and another group of 50 Anunnaki arriving from Nibiru. They implement a plan to establish 5 cities for the monumental task of acquiring, refining, mining, and delivering gold to their own planet for help on combating the ecological disaster they were said to have been experiencing. Pausing very briefly, why do the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and all these elite families hoard gold? Just asking. Why would they do that? What is so special about the gold besides having a lust for something like that? Why would it be? Why is it that they have found archaeological dig sites where the artifacts speak of these cities and monuments and people and all these things that were 50, 60, 100,000, 400,000 years old? Because the Anunnaki were here before. This world existed and then was destroyed and then was remade, and the land is still there and it has things buried underneath it. That's why they dig up dinosaur bones, because the fallen angels were having sex with animals and they created the T-Rex and the raptors and all these other things and made them evil animals. Why does Steven Spielberg, who is part of the Bergs and the Khazars, make movies about dinosaurs like that and make people afraid? My friend Dan Shelley saw the first Jurassic Park movie, and when that dinosaur is going to eat the fat guy at the Jeep scene that spreads its like fanned face wings out like a cobra, the Lord told him that was placed in that movie for fear, because fear, when it gets into you, will stay with you. And that point of that movie was demonic. He was told that by God. And to be quite honest with you, that part of that movie bothered me as a child. And I went to see Jurassic Park at the movies that it was released, and we were on TV, and my mom said that was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. And everybody made fun of me at school the next day. Hold on one second. The reason I mentioned the gold is because they needed gold to turn it into dust, and they were spraying it into the atmosphere so that their world would not die. So what are they doing now? Look at your sky when you look out the window. What are they doing now? They have depleted our natural resources to such an extent and destroyed this planet to such an extent that they are now doing the same thing. They're spraying precious metals into the sky to not only manipulate the weather, but to create electromagnetic frequencies and things like that through chemtrails, so that they can communicate better using the military industrial complex, so that they can poison us, so that they can block the sun, because if they block the sun, nothing will be healthy and we will need medical help. Because people do not realize this, but I learned this from going to all these meetings and things like that, is that the medical industry is like 3 times bigger than the entire military budget worldwide. So what do they have to gain from the pharmaceutical industry and the hospitals and all that stuff? What do they have to gain? It's money. We are a commodity to them. Human beings are a commodity. Because if you've ever heard the teachings of Phil Schneider, who was shot by a gray alien and had his fingers cut off and then they choked him and killed him, if you ever heard those stories, he used to work with an alien underground in the bases, which the bases of Area 51 were built over the original dig sites of the fallen angels that are in the ground. They said when they got there, they looked down in a tunnel and they saw these lights, and they're like, where did those lights come from? And this other guy was taking this other guy on a tour, and he's like, oh, we don't know. Those lights were here when we got here. That is the fallen angels. They are in the ground, and they have buildings and kingdoms set up in the ground. And Jesus is Lord, the YouTube channel, Christopher, he has seen the demons. He has seen the demons in the underground realms and what they look like. And he has seen little children that are living down there, and they don't know any different than living down underground. And they have these powers that he spoke of, that they have powers to turn into portals and things like that. And if you have ever seen, they have like robots and stuff like that. And if you have ever seen the portals that are in the sky when Obama visits Norway and stuff like that, the spirals that are in the sky, that is what it is. Yeah, that's Jesus is Lord. That's correct, Dorothy. That's the correct channel. His name is Christopher. He is from, just checking my phone to make sure it's good. We're at 50%, so we're good. My phone is charging. Oh, the person who had his fingers cut off is Phil Schneider. He has like 189 IQ, and he was a engineer, and he developed the underground bases, the DUMBs, they're called, deep underground military bases. And he was suffocated and murdered and killed because he was starting to come out with the fact that these gray aliens have taken over our government. And I don't know if anybody has ever heard this before, but I think it was Eisenhower, whoever was the president in the 1950s when Roswell happened, whoever that president was, he wrote on our money, "In God We Trust," because he found out that the aliens were real, which are the fallen angels. He found out they're real. And he put "In God We Trust" on our money so that people might have hope in God again, because he was afraid when he met the fallen angels. But what he did is he agreed that he would allow the fallen angels to abduct human beings and do experiments on us if they would give us their technology. I think it was Eisenhower, yeah. So basically, they sold us out. Our own government sold human beings out to the aliens, the fallen angels, and all of them. And I'm telling you the truth, guys. Jackie is the most, like my wife is the most humble, kind human being you have ever met. And she saw a like 4 block sized, like 4 block, I mean like 4 city block sized alien spacecraft above my house in Windham, New Hampshire. And she prayed to Jesus in her head, and it went away. And I am telling you this because you're reading about the Anunnaki and the fallen angels, and they are real. And they had sex with human women in Genesis 6, and that is what created the giants. And the Catholic Church is covering up the fact that giants are real, and they teach falseness in the churches because there is a religious and there is a scientific priesthood that has been set up to deceive the human race. And there are people that are going to these churches that are Masons and witches, and they go into these churches and they deceive people, and they destroy these churches, and they destroy families, and they destroy all the good things that would come from Christians coming together, because there are good people that go to churches, but they go there and they are unwittingly following something that is not true. It doesn't mean you cannot be saved by going to a regular church. I got baptized at a regular church when I was 27. There are some good ones out there still. But for me, in my household, I would prefer to have church at home, alone, or with people, like-minded people, like everyone here tonight. The only way to protect ourselves is to pray the blood of Jesus over our families. Once you have done so, you are protected by the Lord, and he will keep you safe. So moving on, according to Sumerian teachings, they needed huge quantities of gold in order for them to be able to crush it into powder form and then suspend it into the atmosphere to refract the sun's rays. Not being particularly fond of work, they devised a plan to create a primitive worker to serve as slave and relieve them from the burden of labor. This is what they have done to us. At birth, they write your name in capital letters on your birth certificate, and you become a corporation. And just like in the Matrix movie, they use you as a battery, a financial battery, to sell off your debt. And so you are always a debt slave, and you will never rise above any type of position that could ever be rich enough to contend with them. And I'm telling you this because I know for a fact, that you can pay off your debt with your social security number. And as you're like, I forget which one's the routing and which one's the banking account number, you can pay off your debt that you have right now by using your social security number and whatever your routing number is for the place that you were born. And I've done this. I've done what I'm talking about right now. Me and Jackie paid off our old debt that we had in Texas for a place that we were renting. We had to move back home because my dad was going to have a heart attack. And what I'm telling you, in my opinion, is what they are going to use as, I don't know if I'm right about this, it's just a theory, but I believe they're going to take this information, this truth that they've been lying to everyone about money and everything. So when the Federal Reserve Bank falls and all this stuff crumbles, they're going to say, wait, if you take the mark of the beast, we have money that is your money, and it's been waiting for you your whole life, and we have secretly been holding it for you, but it's your money. How many people would sign up for that? Because you really do have money that's backed on real gold, and it's really there. I'm telling you this right now. I've done it. And what would people do if all of a sudden they're dead broke because the Fed drops and they say, no, wait. I have a plan. Let's use we'll implant you with an RFID chip, and you'll have like millions and millions of dollars. That's really your money. It's all your money. Don't worry. And who would be the leader that would do something like that? It would be someone like Obama when he takes power at the United Nations instead of the United States, right? And this is all theory. I'm just saying this is my opinion. I'm not saying how it's going to take place. I have no idea. I'm just saying. Why did Justin Timberlake make a movie with, a code on his wrist or whatever that he needs more time or whatever? I forget the name of the movie. It's probably called Time or something. I forget. But why? If Justin Timberlake is most likely a clone and he is most likely a Satanist because he said he's a Satanist, he admitted that he loves Lucifer, why would he make a movie like that with a thing on his wrist that he needs more of it, and the only way to get more of it is in like the banks and stuff like that? Like, they don't put that stuff in movies unless it's true. Why did that Rockefeller guy tell his best friend who was like a pedophile, basically? I mean, like the Rockefeller guy was a pedophile, and he said, "Oh, I think your 14-year-old daughter's hot." And the guy's like, "Screw you, man. She's 14." He said, "I don't care." And he tells him all about how he said to him, "What's the end game?" And he said, "We want to put a microchip in everybody's wrist, and if you don't do what we say, we shut off your chip and you die." That's what they want to do. That's what he said that to his friend, and that friend died. He's dead now. Yeah, In Time, Dorothy. Thank you. So I was pretty close. The Justin Timberlake movie is In Time. He just told me what it's called, and that in that movie he has a thing that he needs more time or he's going to die, and you can like pass time off to each other. That's what they want to do with money, and so they have sold us out. And right now, I was just thinking about it when I was driving down the street. And I'll get back to the text in a second, but I was just thinking about it when I was driving down the street. Let's say you're a landscaper or you're a carpenter. Let's just say that, right? You're a landscaper, you're a carpenter. You make like $18-20 an hour or whatever the case is, whatever it is, right? You barely scrape by. You get an apartment. You never own a house because you can't afford to own a house. You never save enough to get that. Your car always breaks down because the cars were meant to break down. They never make cars to work properly. The parts only last a few years, so that you have to buy another one. So you're always in debt to the system. They even said they could make cars that work longer, but they don't want to because they make their money off the parts, not off the car. So you're always in debt. You'll never rise above your station, and you'll always be a serf class. That is their plan. Right. Daniel just said it, Nasara. That is what I'm talking about. QAnon and Nasara. That is what their plan is. It's called the plan. It is the satanic agenda. It is the Illuminati agenda. And Satan is at the top of what I'm talking about. And this is coming from someone who had a multiple personality disorder from the Illuminati, because they split her personality, named Carolyn Hamlet, I believe, who used to be on Zen Show all the time. She said she has met mermaids. She has seen fallen angels in human form. They're like 20 to 30 feet tall or something like that. Her mother has seen Lucifer in the flesh, and Nasara and QAnon are set up to make you think that those people know what they're talking about, and they do, but they're going to lure you into this trap that they have set for us, right? And Jesus even said it's set up in a way that they could fool the very elect, even if it were possible, right? So I just wanted to get that out there, but I just went off on a tangent. But I hope that just spit some knowledge at everyone about, the current state of a fair living and everything. Yeah, Lisa, me and Jackie already paid off an old debt, but you can't really use it for everything. You can't use it for like your electricity. You can't use it for most major cards. Jackie paid off her like Kohl's card with it. So like she had debt like $300 worth of a Kohl's card. She paid that off with it. She paid off what did she pay off? Oh, we paid off our old yeah, you can basically only pay. Thank you, Maria. That just summed it up for me. Whether you knew it or not, but you can only pay off a debt with it. For a while, people were having Teslas delivered to their house, used Teslas delivered to their house for free. Well, because the money is your money, so it's not coming from anywhere. Because these are EFT payments. That's the only way you can make the payment, because you can never get cash out of the system. If you could get something physical from this account, then it would work that way. So like you could get something physical like a car and sell the car to get cash, but there's no way to directly transfer the funds from the account to you as a cash account. So you have to get something physical. The only thing that was working at the time when I learned about this was people were getting used Teslas delivered to their house, and it was legitimate. And something else a few people were able to pay off their houses with it. But yeah, you have to use EFT, electronic funds transfer. But at the time, I heard that they were trying to change the routing numbers and things like that, because for every state where you were born, like for instance, I was born in like Massachusetts, for the city or state or something that I lived in, I was fortunate because I only had one routing number. There were people out there that for states that have like 5 or 6. The source of the funds is you, Marie. From the day that you're born, all the money that you create, which, like, let's say you go to work since you're like 20 years old and you worked for $15 an hour. Well, that was backed by gold that you worked, but they never paid you because the Federal Reserve currency is fake. So the money that you really made, it's really in an account, but they paid you on Federal Reserve notes with which you could wipe your butt with. Excuse my, speech, but it's not real money. So they take that real money that fake money that you got, and then you go and buy something, and now you're in debt. So they take that debt and they sell it off, and then they resell that debt to someone else, and so on and so on and so on. By the end of it, there's like $30,000 worth of debt out there and stuff like that. And that's where all these Federal Reserve fake dollars go pump into our economy and stuff like that. It's way more complicated than what I just said, and I probably screwed up some of what I said, but that's basically the gist of it. It's just a big blown up ball of fakeness. That's why when the economy implodes, it's going to implode worse than the Great Depression, because back then when the Great Depression happened, around that time, I don't know the presidents and stuff like that, it's complicated, and I'm probably going to say this wrong too, but basically back then, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt, he was making it illegal to have gold. It was illegal to have possession of gold. The reason for that is because they were implementing the Federal Reserve Bank and stuff at that time, and they didn't want anybody having gold because then it would take away from what they were trying to establish. So basically, they imploded it, It caused the Great Depression, and then they built it back up again on the Federal Reserve notes, which were backed by nothing, not gold anymore. And then now it's so built up that it's really like there's no amount of gold that can fix the way that they built the economy up to, because it's all fake now, and they just print the money. So that's the way it is. So I'll get back into the text. I just wanted to share that. Sorry about that. So let's see. So it was talking about how they created the primitive worker, which is, in my opinion, similar to Bigfoot, which is why people see Bigfoot everywhere. It's because at the time of Atlantis, when it was destroyed, some of the creatures got away. And that's who Bigfoot is the primitive worker. It's like a big, hairy, human-like creature. And I've even heard hunters that got captured or seen them, that the creatures speak to them, and they said, leave us alone and stuff like that. And I don't know if this is true. I'm just talking. Though this creature was capable of menial tasks, it was not able to understand the secrets of heaven. According to the Chaldean historian Berosus, it was during the early history of pre-Adamic humanity that the Anunnaki engaged in direct bestiality, as well as genetic experimentation on all other animals and plant species available then on the planet. It was during this time that an abundance of uniquely hybrid monstrosities came into being. This creature was not modern Yahweh Yahushua created six-day spirit-filled Adam of Genesis 3. The God spoken about in Genesis 1 and 2 is actually a plural term that represents the Elohim, or the fallen ones, in their genetic intervention upon this planet before modern humans were created. And this is what I'm talking about, where it gets into Kleck's work, where when it's talking about like the certain creations and the like it says like who, when it says God and the different things like that, I don't know where, but certain parts of it apparently are talking about the fallen angels and stuff like that, which is what people don't understand. Well, that's pretty funny, Dorothy. Yeah, basically, yeah, you got it. Pay off all your debt now. It's still possible you can pay it off. It's complicated. Sometimes they deny your payments and stuff like that, and you got to keep telling them, no, I paid it, and then they're like, well, I didn't get the thing, and then finally they take it off your credit report. But it's better than paying cash for it because it's not real. So I paid off like a $2,500 old bill for like a place that I lived at, because I had to leave. It was an emergency. So I paid it off with that. It was like a 4-year-old debt. And it allowed me to get the place that I was living in before I moved to this place. And my credit went up to like 700 after I paid it off. So anyways, and God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning was the fifth day. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures after his kind, cattle, creeping things, beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created him, male and female created he them. See? He made man in his image, male and female, he created them. So if God is only a male, then how did he create them male and female? Did anybody ever ask themselves that before? Just a question. Did I just see Wick? Is Wick videos on here? Just wanted to say hello, brother, and welcome. I think you're doing a great job on your videos. There he is. What's up, buddy? So bear with me. Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life. I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Genesis 1:20-31. I looked over the wide heavens that I had made, and I saw countless millions of spirits of the dead that had lived and died on other corporeal worlds before the earth was made. I spake in the firmament, and my voice reached to the uttermost places. And there came in answer to the sound of my voice myriads of angels from the roadway in heaven where the earth travelleth. I said to them, Behold, a new world have I created. Come ye and enjoy it. Yea, ye shall learn from it how it was with the other worlds in the ages past. There alighted upon the new earth millions of angels from heaven, but many of them had never fulfilled the corporeal life, having died in infancy, and these angels comprehended not procreation nor corporeal life. And I said, Go and deliver Asu from darkness, for he shall also rise in spirit to inherit my Etherean worlds. And now was the earth in the latter days of Semu, and the angels could readily take on corporeal bodies for themselves out of the elements of the earth, clothe they themselves by force their wills with flesh and bones. By the side of the Asuans took they on corporeal forms. And I said, Go ye forth and partake of all that is on the earth, but partake ye not of the tree of life, lest in that labor ye become procreators, and as if dead to the heavens whence ye came. But those who had never learned corporeal things, being imperfect in wisdom, comprehended not Jehovah's words, and they dwelt with the Asuans, and were tempted, and partook of the fruit of the tree of life. And lo, and behold, they saw their own nakedness. And there was born of the first race, Asu, a new race called man. And Jehovah took the earth out of the travail of Semu, and the angels gave up their corporeal bodies. Jehovah said, Because you have raised up those that shall be joint heirs in heaven, ye shall tread the earth with your feet, and walk by the sides of the newborn, being guardian angels over them. For they are of your own flesh and kin. Fruit of your seed have I quickened with my spirit, and man will come forth with a birthright to my Etherean worlds. Book of Jehovah. Day 6, 7,000 years ago. What most don't realize is that not only were the fallen angels already here before the creation of modern day humanity, but pre-Adamic man was also already upon the world stage. It was this Bigfoot type creature. See, I told you, the primitive worker that was at Atlantis, that built Atlantis with the for the fallen angels as a slave, is what Bigfoot is. They escaped, and that's what's in the wilderness now. And they will kill you, some of them. They want to be left alone, but people want to bother them, so they will kill you. Oh, caffeine. I need some coffee. That's a great idea. This is my cup from Maine. This is from Kittery Trading Post, which is a store in Maine that has every camping item you could possibly endeavor to want in this world. Thank you, Kayleen. Yes, there is a website for the routing numbers if you want to go to it. It's actually, the routing numbers are actually at the Federal Reserve website. So, I mean, it's their website, so it's pretty accurate that it's true. I don't know if they are relevant anymore or they work still, but, and I have no idea what's going on in chat, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Hold on, guys. I just gotta check my phone, make sure everything is good. Okay, still charging. Perfect. All right, ready? It was this Bigfoot type creature that was utilized to create what the Anunnaki call the primitive worker. What's interesting about the Sumerian stories is that they also cite the sudden appearance of the breath filled modern-day creation of sixth-day humanity or civilized man. And this is where Cain went when he left. He went to these other races of beings, the cities that the fallen angels had created. The Elohim or Anunnaki were upon the earth before creation and the advent of the seed of Adam. The Elohim were the originators of the initial root race and civilization, which they talk about like in the movie Stargate and stuff like that. They had established a global empire based on trade that extended to all parts of the world before pre-Adamic humanity had gathered in tribes. It was these beings that were initially manipulated by the Elohim to bring forth the primitive worker. The legends of Passadia, Atlantis, Mu, Lemuria, and Meror are based on the reality of this original angelic culture and civilization. It was during the time of this kingdom, or what the Egyptians call Zep-Tepi, which I read to you guys from the Genesis 6 conspiracy, I believe, the beginning time that the hybrid demigods ruled upon the earth. In a book called Mu, oh my gosh, my headphones just went ballistic. That just scared me. Oh, Clark has a new video. Think David beat Goliath. Yeah, round 2, even worse. So if anybody wants to check that out, I just had a heart attack. Hold on. It's called, in a book called Mu Revealed, ancient Mayan documents are cited which discuss the priesthood of Atlantis, specifically a young priest named Cland. As he is educated through the temple system, Cland discusses many things within the scope of his scroll, giving us insight into Atlantean legends and past. He documents war and environmental destruction, which spanned a period of 50,000 from 50,000 BC to 13,000 BC, when the final destruction of Atlantis occurred with the drowning of the continent. One of the major disputes of that epoch is based on the rights and treatment of this primitive worker. This is very, very interesting, guys. So I just want to throw this out there because I said it on another show so everybody understands. In the show The Simpsons, which was created by fake Jews, the Khazars, which have predicted many things, including Trump becoming president and all that, and 9/11 and everything like that, because they have evil seers that can see the future and stuff like that through demonology and everything. They have a song in The Simpsons that says, "We hide Atlantis." That is part of the lyrics of this weird Masonic song that they sing in one of the episodes. They say that we hide Atlantis. Just wanted to mention that. Bear with me. So it said, again, it was mentioning one of the major disputes of that epoch is based on the rights and treatment of the primitive worker. So they were badly treating the primitive worker, which was Bigfoot, which created their cities. Freedoms were not extended to those creatures, and many were treated and used like economic slaves without intrinsic worth or value. Like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Mu Revealed describes some of the Anunnaki as the sons of Beliar, or the sons of darkness, as they begin delving into magic associated to stargates and the opening of portals. What did I say to you earlier? This is all talking about similar things to Stargate, and that there were civilizations before. And then Jesus is Lord, Christopher, talks about how he has seen the demonic realm under the ground. There are robots down there. There are bio robots, which is spoken of in the Super Soldier program. People that have escaped the Super Soldier program talk about seeing half robot, half human entities. What do you think Terminator Salvation and all those movies are talking about? That is a real thing. Every single thing that you see in movies, they put it in movies. So number one, they can do these things because there's some type of universal law that they have to show you before they do it. And then also, they just want you to know so they can rub it in your face because they're evil, sadistic, murdering psychopaths that kill children and like it. Yes, Skynet is real. All this stuff is real. It's all real. And it just hasn't come into the public consciousness because they don't show it to you, but it's all real. It's all underground. And, it happens behind closed doors. It could be happening in the building next to you, but you don't know it because you're not in the building next to you, right? They're not going to let you into the building next to you, or, I'm talking about, I'm just saying hypothetically. You don't know what's behind every door. You don't know what they're hiding. Look at half of the movies in the world. Half of the movies in the world have a secret door in these, like in a building. Like there's a movie with Matt Damon, and they have like secret doors, and you can't, you open one door and it goes to this other place, and then they change everything so that door doesn't go to that place anymore. Like, you know, it's something to that effect. Like they can update the world around you. So even if that was the way to get into a secret place where they're hiding like little kids, or they're doing all these things to, people and like sadistic things, they could just change it the next day because they control everything. They, like, I don't know if you ever seen that movie Sneakers back in the day with Rob Redford. Like, they had a building set up to trick him into doing a task for them, and the next day the building was gone. They tore it down because the building was fake. They just set up an office in a fake building, and the next day it was gone. It's something like that. It's just they can do whatever they want because they run everything, they own everything. They created the very streets that we drive on. They mapped them out from the beginning. So realistically, what are you going to do about it? They think you can't do anything. You can't, but Jesus can, and he has everybody's life mapped out. And he is in control of everything, regardless of what people think. So, like the Emerald Tablets of Toth, Mu revealed describes some of the Anunnaki as the sons of Beliar, or sons of darkness, as they begin delving into magic associated to stargates and the opening of portals. It was during one of these experiments that the Lord brought judgment and destruction upon them, sinking the lands of Atlantis from memory and view. This destruction is described in Jeremiah 4:23. Wonder of wonders, it in the wilderness by themselves to have come about. Indeed, a wonder of wonders it is. A new breed of earthling on earth has emerged. A civilized man has the earth itself brought forth. Farming and shepherding, crafts and toolmaking he can be taught. So was Enlil to Enki, saying, let us of the new breed to Anu word send. Of the new breed word to Anu on Nibiru was beamed. Let seeds that can be sown, let ewes that sheep become to earth be sent. So did Enki and Enlil to Anu the suggestion made by civilized man, let Anunnaki and earthlings become satiated. Anu, the words heard, by the words he was amazed, that by life essences one kind to another leads is not unheard of. To them words back he sent, that on earth a civilized man from the Adamu so quickly appeared, that is unheard of. Lost Book of Enki. I'm going to describe this in a second, and I'm going on to the next portion also, but I don't know if you guys knew this, but there is a shoe brand called Anu. It's ANHU. I bought a pair not realizing what they were, basically the name on it or whatever, but it has a symbol that is like a downward spiral with like 3 circles in it. So just kind of odd that, even Kleck talks about that everything basically is all symbology of the fallen angels, even in our modern day society. And I think it's a California-based company. It's just everywhere. The fallen angels have penetrated to everything. Advertising, TV, movies, the medical industry, genetics, vegetables, our whole world. So what else? What other option do we have as the people of God but to pray and to ask God to protect our food? That's why it's so important to pray for your food. Never mind to thank God that we even have food compared to people that are starving to death in other countries, but to protect our food, because they're trying to kill us wholesale, guys. The Georgia Guidestones were not created for no reason. The 6th-day creation was elevated by Yahushua as Adam of light, and would be the creature tempted to fall from paradise by Lucifer, Satan, or whom we come to know as the Sumerian Enki. He, as Nakash of Genesis 3, would tempt Eve to eat the forbidden fruit once she was separated from Adam. Remember I told you that she was away from Adam because the angels were praying, because every day angels go up to pray to God. Adam was over praying by himself. The angels that were with them had left to go pray and worship God. And Satan, Lucifer, went and tempted Eve using the sweat from his armpits. He made her drink a concoction and all that stuff I told you guys before. would tempt Eve to eat the forbidden fruit once she was separated from Adam. The reason the Lord separated them and placed them in paradise was to actually protect them from the fallen ones. This is also why Lucifer sneak into paradise disguised as a serpent, just to be able to tempt the Lord's highest creatures. He would cause them to fall from paradise, having eaten of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, whereupon, losing their bright nature, they would lose their protection in paradise and be banished to reside with the other fallen angels on the lower earth. After the Sabbath and the day of rest, the Lord would reinstitute plans to redeem Adam and his descendants, while at the same time condemn the fallen angels for their perpetuation of evil in this world. This is from the Pistis of Sophia, which I believe is in the Nag Hammadi Codices, but I have to check. For this cause, therefore, have I brought the keys of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, otherwise no flesh in the world would be saved. For without mysteries, no one will enter into the light kingdom, be he a righteous or a sinner. For this cause, therefore, have I brought the keys of the mysteries into the world, that I may free the sinners who shall have faith in me and hearken unto me, so that I may free them from the bonds and the seals of the aeons of the rulers, and bind them to the seals and the vestures and the orders of light, in order that he whom I shall free in the world from the bonds and the seals of the aeons of the rulers may be freed in the heights from the bonds and the seals of the aeons of the rulers. He's talking about the archons, which are the fallen angels. And in the order that he whom I shall bind in this world to the seals and the vestures and the orders of lights may be bound in the light lands to the orders and the inheritance of light. For the sake of sinners, therefore, have I torn myself asunder at this time, and I brought them the mysteries, that I may free them from the aeons of the rulers and bind them to the inheritance of the light. And not only the sinners, but also the righteous, in order that I may give them the mysteries, and that they may be taken into the light. For without mysteries, there cannot be taken into the light. Genesis 2:1-24. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all the work that God created. While Adam was listening to the speech of his Lord to him, and standing upon the place of Golgotha, all the creatures being gathered together that they might hear the conversation of God with him. Pause. Remember I told you that Golgotha is originally where Adam was situated when Jesus was showing him everything, and the whole entire creation and everything was starting and all that stuff. Where Jesus was crucified on the cross, that is the like the center of the earth, basically. Bear with me a second. All the creatures being gathered together that they might hear the conversation of God with him. Lo, a cloud of light carried him and went with him to paradise, and the choirs of the angels sang before him, the cherubim among them, blessing, and the seraphim crying, Holy, until Adam came into paradise. He entered it at the third hour on Friday, and the Lord, to him be praised, gave him the commandment and warned him against disobedience to it. Then the Lord, to him be praised, threw upon Adam a form of sleep, and he slept a sweet sleep in paradise. And God took a rib from his left side, and from it he created Eve. When he awoke, he saw Eve. He rejoiced over her and lived with her, and she was in the pleasant garden of paradise. God clothed them with glory and splendor. They outvied one another in the glory with which they were clothed. And the Lord crowned them for marriage, and the angels congratulated them, and there was joy there, such as never had been the like, and never will be, till the day in which people at the right hand shall hear the glorious voice of the Lord. Adam and Eve remained in paradise for 3 hours. Then God planted the tree of life in the middle of paradise, and it was the form of a cross which was stretched upon it, and it was the tree of life and salvation. Satan remained in his envy to Adam and Eve for the favor which the Lord showed them, and he contrived to enter into the serpent, which was the most beautiful of all animals, and its nature was above the nature of the camel. He carried it till he went with it in the air to the lowest parts of paradise. The reason for Iblis, the cursed, hiding himself in the serpent was his ugliness. For when he was deprived of his honor, he got into the acme of ugliness, till none of the creatures could have borne the sight of him uncovered. And if Eve had seen him unveiled in the serpent, when she spoke to him, she would have run away from him, and neither cunning nor deceit would have availed him with her. He contrived to hide himself in the serpent, the cunning creature, to teach the birds with round tongues the speech of men in Greek and such like. But the cursed devil, when he entered the serpent, came towards Eve when she was alone in paradise away from Adam, and called her by name. She turned to him, looked at her likeness behind a veil, and he talked to her, and she talked to him. And he led her astray by his speech, for a woman's nature is weak, and she trusts in every word. And he lectured her about the forbidden tree in obedience to her desire, and described to her the goodness of its taste, and that when she should eat of it, she should become a god. And she longed for what the cursed one made her long for, and she would not hear from the Lord. May his name be sanctified, what he had commanded Adam about the tree. She hastened eagerly towards it and seized some of its fruit from her mouth. Then she called Adam, and he hastened to her and gave him of the fruit, telling him if he ate of it, he would become a god. He listened to her advice because he should become a god, as she said. When he and she ate the deadly fruit, they were bereft of their glory, and their splendor was taken from them, and they were stripped of the light which they had been clothed in. When they looked at themselves, they were naked of the grace which they had worn, and their shame was manifest to them. They had made to themselves aprons of fig leaves and covered themselves therewith, and they were in great sadness for 3 hours. They did not manage to continue in the grace and power which the Lord had endured them before the rebellion for 3 hours, till it was taken from them, and they were made to slip and fall out of the same sunset on that day, and they received slip and fall down at the time of sunset on that day, and they received the sentence of God and punishment. Bear with me. After the clothing of the fig trees, they put on clothing of skins, and it is the skin of which our bodies are made, being of the family of man, and it is clothing of pain. The entrance of Adam into paradise was at the 3rd hour. He and Eve passed through great power in 3 hours, and they were naked for 3 hours, and in that 9th hour they went out from paradise unwillingly, with much grief, great weeping, mourning, and sighing. That's from the Kitab al-Magal. And I don't know if you can read it, but I'll show you. Hold on. Oh, there it is. How do you spell it? The reason I cite this passage from the books of the Rolls is because it is one of those rare passages that actually describes 60-day Adam's initial 60-day Adam's initial creation as occurring between the physical earth and the atmosphere beneath paradise, created inside of the Anunnaki before being taken up into paradise, where he was placed by the Creator in the protective type space or enclosure called the Garden of the Lord. Adam was crowned king and given dominion over paradise on the same day of his creation, much like Lucifer's refusal to bow before our Lord before the war in heaven. Satan here refuses to bow before the 6th-day Adam of paradise, jealous of his appointment, creation, and dominion. Satan decides to tempt the innocence of Adam and Eve after the Lord formed her from and of Adam. This text shows that before the temptation, Adam and Eve are bright-natured, angelic type beings not yet transformed into flesh, and that eating of the fruit from the tree of knowledge and good and evil resulted in their fall from grace and transformation into flesh, whereby all the prophecies of Genesis 3 would then be fulfilled. And then it just reads Genesis 3, 1 through 24. So I'm going to read the next portion, day 7. Rest and Sabbath are appointed the Lord's holy day and signify completion of the higher and lower orders. In this day, the Lord has all of the angels and creatures worship him in honored remembrance as a token of thanksgiving for their life and being. Sabbath is sanctified as the holiest day of the week. The Lord would use this day to celebrate his unfolding creation, but because of the rebellion of Lucifer and the fall of Adam and Eve, he would institute a plan for judgment and redeeming of humanity through Yahushua, the Word, and the condemnation of the fallen angels. His Son would enter into flesh and defeat death, extending grace and salvation to those that believe on him and in him. The recreation of Adam and Eve into flesh bodies happens on the 8th day and is described in the Nag Hammadi codices as the elevation of the 3rd creation of 8th day dust, Adam and Eve. This is fairly important, so I'm going to read this, and then we're going to be on the next chapter, so I'll end there. So this is page 42 and 43. Day 8. Adam and Eve are recreated into bodies of flesh and find themselves living in the wilderness of the earth in a place called the Cave of Treasures. Having lost their bright nature, they are transformed into flesh bodies, which adhere to the laws of nature and physical rules of this third dimension universe. In this form, they would fulfill all the prophecies of Genesis 3, and that they would bring children into the world, have to work to feed them, and would eventually die. The second world age would also be dominated by the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. This enmity would begin with Eve as the mother of all living. She would be the womb through which her two bloodlines, as well as peoples, would come into being. Satan's seed began with the birth of Cain, Adam's seed with Abel, who would be replaced with Seth, because Cain would be the murderer of his brother. The Word himself would end this war, being prophesied that he would be sacrificed on the cross where David had buried the skull of Goliath. When Yahushua was sacrificed on the cross on the hill of Golgotha, which means Goliath of Gath, he actually fulfilled the prophecy of Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Christ, the seed of the woman, was on the day of his crucifixion crushing the skull of Goliath, whom as a hybrid giant was of the seed of the serpent, nipping at the heel of the Lord. And I just want to get my picture so you can understand this again. So this is the fulfillment of that prophecy. That is Goliath's head. That is the fulfillment of that prophecy. This is Adam's body, and this is Golgotha, and this is where Adam's body was buried. This is also where Adam originally was when he was shown the center of the earth and all that. And there is much stuff that happened in prophecy regarding this, and where Christ was crucified. That is where David buried Goliath's skull, and this is that prophecy, the nipping at the heel that I was telling you guys about multiple times, but I didn't have the verse in front of me. The only difference being we read earlier today is that the blood of Christ flowed into Adam's mouth, which was a spiritual mouth, like his bones. It flowed over his mouth, purifying him because he had eaten of the fruit. If that makes sense to everyone. It wasn't the way I drew it, because I drew that not before I had read this in full, so I had it just flowing over his body. But oh, Wick, that's cool. Yeah, I love the Cave of Treasures. It's a great text. So this is the ending of this chapter. It says, the Colburn Bible. Time no longer slept on the bosom of God, for now there was change where before all had been unchanged, and change is time. Now within the universal womb was heat and substance and life, and encompassing it was the word, which is the law. That's from the Colburn Bible. So the next chapter is called Yahushua, Light of the World. And guys, I had mentioned also God's name, like the Son of God's name is Jesus Christ. I say Yahushua sometimes. Zen says Yahushua. There are many different pronunciations of the Paleo-Hebrew name of Jesus Christ. I also use the regular name for Jesus Christ because, as I told you, in the epistle of Barnabas, it tells you that the reason Abraham circumcised 318 members of his group is because, right, semantics exactly. The reason that Abraham circumcised 318 members of his group was a foreshadowing of Christ, because the 3 is separate, like from the 18 and all of that, and it comes out to being IESOS or something like that. And then obviously there was no J back then. So then once there was a J, that's why we say Jesus. So anybody that wants to get into the the sacred name doctrine and all that stuff, I don't want to even discuss it. I actually struggled with this for a long time, as I had mentioned, and believe it or not, Jonathan Kleck came out with a video discussing that. I think it was saying 109 or something in one of his videos, where the blind man and his old mother were singing, and they didn't really speak properly, but they were singing to Jesus. And I had prayed for that teaching and understanding from God, and Kleck came out with it like the next day. So anybody that wants to tell me that Kleck's work is not powerful, that was a prayer that was answered through one of Kleck's videos. And that was almost like one of 3 or 4, maybe even 5 things that I had prayed for. And like the next day, Kleck answered it. So he doesn't just teach you about, things in commercials. He doesn't just teach you about, things that people might not agree with. He teaches things based on how the Holy Spirit teaches him. And and anybody that speaks against Jonathan Kleck, I'll pray for you, because you shouldn't do that. I'm just being honest. I'm just being totally honest. I am no respecter of persons, and neither is the Lord Jesus Christ. But the Lord has given him a gift, and we don't want to blaspheme the Holy Spirit, and we don't know at what point that will happen. So let's just all love each other. If we believe in Jesus Christ and we come to understanding on these things that have been pulled over our eyes within the public realm, I pray that we all just, love one another and are kind to one another. And if somebody says, will you forgive me? You should forgive them and move on. And just wanted to let you guys what we're going to read on the next show, which is what I just told you, the Yahushua, light of the world. Just brief, it gets into the 5,500 years, which was the prophesied amount of time where Jesus said that he would come and fulfill his promise to Adam. Adam was dying, and Seth and Eve went to the flaming sword angel at paradise and said, would you get some ointment for Adam? And Jesus came down himself and he said, I'm not going to let you have it now. You're going to die. And Adam went into the highest realms of hell for 5,500 years, and he had to wait there until Jesus came. When Jesus came and died on the cross, when he was in the tomb for 3 days, he went down to Hades, he destroyed the gates of brass, he got the keys of hell and death, and he laid Satan's realm a wasteland. And the saints asked Jesus, can you please leave a cross of light here to show everyone that you conquered this place? And he said yes. He left it there. And I showed you guys my artwork based on this stuff. So I hope that was informative. If you want to know where that story is, where Jesus went to the underworld and defeated hell and death, it's in the Super Gospel at scriptural-truth.com. And it's also in the Gospel of Nicodemus by itself. Nicodemus is the Jewish elder that Jesus had a conversation with about how to become born again. And he was one of the ones that stood up for Jesus in the face of Caiaphas and Annas and Caiaphas, the Pharisees, and Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus are the two people that prepared Jesus' body and took him down from the cross and laid him in the freshly hewn tomb that had never been used by another person before. That was a great honor that they did for Jesus Christ, and they begged for the body of Jesus from Pilate. A lot of people don't talk about that, but I think that we need to give credit where credit is due for the people that took care of our Lord, because a lot of people, even in today's world, could care less. They don't talk about these things, and I think it's a shame that they don't. So God bless you all. I pray that you have a good night. I pray that anybody that's hurting right now, hold on one second. Thank you, Dorothy. I pray that anybody that's hurting right now or has any ailments, I pray that you might be healed, and I will continue to pray for all of you. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Wick for coming. I haven't seen you here in a while, so thank you for coming. Anybody else? Ella, I don't think I've seen you here in a while as well, or Lisa maybe. Thank you for everyone that has been a part of this for a long time as well. Just want to say thank you to everyone for coming and taking the time out to read with us tonight. And I just pray for all of you this week that you might have the blessings of the Lord in your life. I really do. Try to get a gold star from Miss Audra this week. And love you guys, and I thank you all. I really do thank you all. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I hope that by what you might learn here, that you might be able to teach other people, because we really don't know how long we're going to be here, and we don't know we might have the opportunity to speak these things to, especially with what's coming on the world. Yeah, Dorothy, I hope that your daughter's okay with swallowing those the coins that she swallowed. Hopefully you have like a little bit more change for Coinstar by now. But yeah. And if anybody has any questions, I'll stay on for a few more minutes. But if not, I'm going to head out in about 5 minutes or so. You're welcome, Nancy. Have a great night. Oh, sure, Marie. Marie? You're asking me to explain about Nibiru, I think. So, Marie, can you explain that portion about like which part of it Nibiru you want me to explain? I'm literally just gonna sit here and wait till you guys like get a chance. Dorothy, I definitely will. Hope you and your daughter have a great night. Oh, you missed the first 17 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Basically, I was just talking about how Nibiru. Oh, thanks, Wick. So basically, I was just talking about how Nibiru, like at the time when Zen wrote this book, he was not talking about flat Earth yet. So a lot of the things that he was talking about were, right, part one, yep. So a lot of the things he was talking about were based on thinking that the Earth was still a globe and round and stuff like that. But it's still, Nibiru still makes sense because basically, like, let's say that we're in a firmament like this, whatever, like this. We're in a firmament and there's a dome above us like that, right? Nibiru could still be outside of the firmament, but for instance, like in the movie Transformers, they had something that looked like an invisible shield or something that was the barrier, and then there was a red planet coming into it, and there was some type of machine they were using, kind of like CERN, to allow it to enter into the dome that we are in. So whether you believe in a round Earth or a flat Earth, that doesn't negate the fact that there could be a planet X or Nibiru or whatever. And in fact, my friend Dan Shelley saw the 3 Days of Darkness type event with Nibiru being in the sky, and he said that there was a rapture event very close to when Nibiru had made its fullest approach. And also, he saw this event as a Christian and as a non-Christian. I don't know if his vision was correct, and I don't know if it will come at night, and I don't know when it's going to happen. I have no idea, and I will never try to predict when it is going to happen. Even if I had a dream tonight that said something will happen on such and such a date, and it showed me on a calendar and everything, I wouldn't say it, because as soon as you say something and it doesn't happen, people call you a false prophet. So I don't want that to happen, because the things that I'm teaching you about the Word of God are all true. So to take the truth and then smear myself by trying to predict the future is not something I would choose to do. It's just an unwise thing to do. So, and I'm just saying this conversationally, but so what I was saying is that I was talking about Nibiru because it's like the planetary systems and like the sun and moon are on like on circuits. It tells you about it like on, I think it's in Second Enoch. It's called the Courses of the Heavenly Luminaries. I don't know if war will come first before Nibiru. I don't even know if war will come necessarily at all. And I say that, no, I just say that because like, and I'm not saying this is true. Just hear me out, okay? This is just the way my mind works. Like the reason I believe in flat Earth is not because I believe, like I get the stuff that it says in the Bible, but even if I didn't get the stuff it says in the Bible, Obama, if he's the Antichrist, he made fun of flat Earth on live TV. Why would he do something like that unless it's true? Why would they have a 1994 Fleer 1994 Illuminati card game that says the flat earthers know something, and that card game also predicted Trump becoming president? The people that made the 94 Illuminati card game, it's from companies like the Wizards of the Coast that make like Marvel comics and all these other things. I used to be a huge card collector, and I know this stuff. Like, I didn't know about it when I was a kid because I didn't understand, but now that I'm older, I get it all. And they really are wizards. They're like people that, you know, create things like Spider-Man, which is an abomination. If you think about it, Spider-Man, it changed his DNA. It's what the fallen angels were doing. And I'm just, saying this kind of stuff because it's true. I used to love comics, so it's easy for me to say what I'm talking about. It's like me destroying my childhood, basically, on purpose, because I love God more than I love that stuff. So, um, I know this is getting long and complicated, but basically, like, you know, it's kind of like that. The reason I believe in flat Earth is because you look at who's mocking it, right? Like, you find out who's in control of the world because you find out who you're not allowed to say things against. Like, you find out that, like, there might not be war before the end because it says in the Bible, wars and rumors of wars. So it says wars, and then it says rumors of wars. We've had tons of wars, but now we're getting into like rumors of wars. So that's like, maybe that it's just going to be rumors of wars, and then the actual second part won't happen because why? Because maybe there'll be what Ronald Reagan said. Ronald Reagan would believe, besides what people say that's good about him, Ronald Reagan used to speak to mediums and psychics and stuff like that. And he used to say on national television, he said it on live stage. I think it was even in front of like people from the UN or something, I forget, but he was on live television and said, wouldn't it be great if an outside source like aliens came in to attack us and we all banded together, creating peace among human beings? So we wouldn't fight anymore as people, as the human race. There would be peace because of the outside source as a threat. And what do they put in the movies? Independence Day. They put movies like Battle for Los Angeles or whatever that movie was, where everybody in the earth bands together because there's an outside threat. Then what happens when there's an outside threat? The other good aliens come in and they say, oh, we took care of them. We're your gods and all that stuff, right? And I'm not saying that's going to happen either. I don't know. There's too many scenarios to contemplate. All I know is Jesus Christ is the Son of God and he died for my sins, But I just try to read all this stuff and teach you guys all this stuff because there's going to be a lot of complicated stuff that's happening in the world. Fallen angels are basically here already, and they're deceiving mankind through music, propaganda, fakeness. Everything's fake, basically, you know? Right, like Pacific Rim is a perfect movie example, Dorothy, of what I'm talking about. These huge giant beasts that come from other dimensions and all that stuff, and we have to all band together and create these giant robots to defeat them. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, there's even that movie with can't even think of his name, but there's that movie where they like created robots that fight each other, and the robot that they had that the guy could control because he was a boxer and it had a shadow function. Like, the name of the robot was Adam. I mean, give me a freaking break. The robot that is like the new, like the underdog, robot is named Adam. It just happens to be that name. It's just ridiculous. Everything that is currently in Hollywood is to manipulate our minds to excuse me, I'm choking. Hold on, coffee time. It's all designed to manipulate our minds into thinking, oh, I saw that in a movie once, so it couldn't possibly be reality because it was in a movie. when in fact it is the exact reality twisted. Usually, whatever it is, it's true, but it's like the exact opposite. Like, for instance, I'll give you a perfect for instance if I don't choke to death right now, because I feel like I just swallowed a border collie hair and it's stuck in my throat. In third Enoch, you find out that when Enoch went to heaven, he became the angel Metatron, right? Metatron, okay? In Transformers, the movie, there are very, very few of good robots, right? There are a ton of the bad robots. The bad leader of the robots, the leader of the bad robots is Megatron, right? The leader of the good robots, Optimus Prime, seems like he's the good guy, right? But if you think about this twisted, they are taking the name of Enoch in his angelic sense, and they're giving the bad guy robot that name, and then they're taking the very select few, which would represent the fallen angels and Satan, because he doesn't have a lot of people. Like, he doesn't have a lot of like angels. The good angels far outweigh the bad angels. Why do you think he is creating an army of giants and all these robots and stuff? Because he doesn't have a big army. In fact, he already lost. He knows he lost. He just won't give it up. And God is allowing it to continue to test you and I. Because just imagine that. Imagine how important we are to God. Imagine how much he loves us, and imagine how important we are to him, for him to allow all of this to continue, because it is very important for our souls to be tested, because the flesh is the perfect testing of who you are. If you have forgotten who you are in the angelic realm and you come here, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So if you come here and, like Jesus Christ, who came from his almighty throne down to being a humble carpenter and died for us, how close do you resemble that in humility? Or do you want to be rather like Lucifer and be prideful, own 50 yachts, and be like Zuckerberg, planning human destruction or what have you? There's a full spectrum of people that you could be like in this reality. Yes, Hugh Jackman, thank you. Dorothy, second gold star for the night. Not even going to talk about it, Miss Audrey. We won't even talk about it. It's okay. So, Wick, I think you wanted me to email you. Just let me know what you wanted me to email you about, because I thought you were trying to ask me a question. If you're still here, might not be. But yeah, I'm talking about the movie with Hugh Jackman. I just switched to that because I forgot what I was going to say. So that's really funny. So I was talking about that movie with Hugh Jackman because he in that movie is fighting other robots, and he like with a boxer that, like, you know, the Real Steel, the movie. Thank you, Real Steel. That's the movie I'm talking about. That robot's name is Adam. That is by design. And in fact, the woman that's in the movie with Hugh Jackman has been shown to be a transsexual. It's a hard one. It's a hard one. There's a lot of transsexuals. Super hard. Super hard. Like the woman from Casablanca, I told you, that was the hardest one for me, because the old ones, those ones are hard, man. But she's got the shoulders. She's got the Adam's apple still. She's got the skull, the jaw. I'm telling you, I draw portraits of people. It's just, it's hard, but it's hard not to see. They are everywhere. They really are everywhere. And it's even hard because, you know, she was in Lord of the Rings. and they make him look so feminine. Yeah, the old movie Casablanca, that woman in that movie, she's a transsexual. That movie takes place in like Morocco. Morocco is actually where all of the transsexual operations happen in the world, for like the models for Victoria's Secret, all the angels, kind of weird, right? All the angels for the Victoria's Secret models and all that stuff, they go to these places. That's what this is. They go and they look all, yeah, they go all around the world and they look for these models that could be transformed from a feminine to a masculine. That's what Tom Brady's wife is. And she does witchcraft to give him wins. That's proven. He admitted that himself. Why is it that transsexuals are addicted to doing witchcraft? Why is that? It is gross, but why is it? Why do they create a statue of Lucifer, the goat? Why do they call Tom Brady the goat also? But why do they have a statue of Lucifer that's unveiled at the International Satanic Temple or whatever, and then they have two guys kiss in front of it? Why would they do that? What, how does that make sense? Why, yeah, the Batman. Why do they have festivals with rainbow flags that say pride? And pride is what Lucifer was cast out for. Why would they do that unless Jesus Christ is the Son of God? It doesn't make sense. Why do they say Jesus Christ's name in vain in movies? Why do they do that? Why do you, when they're saying something exasperatory or whatever you want to call it, like an exclamation point, why do they say Jesus Christ's name? If they don't believe in him and he's nothing, like they say he's nothing, right? Why do they use his name? Because his name has power. Why don't they use Buddha's name? Might even sound better, right? Might even sound better to say Muhammad or Buddha or something like that. Yes, I think you spelled Baphomet wrong. But sure, we can go for a gold star. But there's only like a few people on now. Let's wait till there's 40 people watching, and then we'll get your gold star. And that was meant to be funny. I'm just kidding. But Dorothy, that's not fair. I think you spell check that, but it's funny still. Yeah, they just want to mock him. They just want to take the Lord's name and mock him. And he's the king of the universe. He's the one that allows the sun to shine on these people. Imagine that. Imagine God. He is so patient. He, he is so patient. The Lord is so patient that he allows the sun to shine on us and these people that have satanic temples at the same time, because he believes that they can be changed. That's his patience. So what is the patience of the saints then? What is our patience supposed to be? If we are supposed to be like Christ, what should and could our patience be like? How long should we endure here until he comes? Forever. If he has the patience to wait until these people might change from their evil ways. Exactly, Marie. We have to be just like Jesus Christ, and we have to wait until he says time is up. They're done. It is time for their judgment. It is time for their condemnation, and it is time to separate the sheep from the goats. It is time to take the wheat and gather it into his barn and burn the tares. And I'm waiting for that. That's the only reason I sometimes want to continue on, is because I am waiting for that wonderful day. And it is said, and I said this to a friend the other day, that Paul said it. Paul said that the evils of this world and all that they entail do not compare to the glory of God. It is not something that can be comparable. Everything will be forgotten. Like after a child is birthed, the mother does not remember the pain. She just sees the child and laughs and cries and says, great, happy, don't care. And then you get to spend all that time with your child till, for the rest of your life, until one of you dies, which is inevitable. But in heaven, no one will die. Once Jesus comes to get us, it will be eternity, something that we cannot fathom. Yeah, I didn't think about that, Marie. That is true. That is true. They won't have any hormones anymore, so you'll know if they're a man or a woman for real. That will not be a very fun thing to think about. Yeah, they will look like freaks if they don't already, but yeah, interesting. But yeah, guys, that just was a very interesting conversation actually with the chat. So thank you guys for coming tonight. I'm gonna head out now, but God bless you all. Thanks for coming, and I will see you tomorrow, probably around 9 p.m. For real this time, because I had to do paperwork tonight. So sorry about that. But God bless everybody and have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye.